Good afternoon. The Prime Minister is urging Conservative colleagues to get behind her Brexit deal or risk having no deal whatsoever. Theresa May says there is no alternative to what was agreed at Chequers and she'll give no more ground to the EU or to rebels within her own party. Well, speaking to the BBC's Andrew Marr, she defended her deal and attempted to talk down some of her critics.
I recognise there are many people, there'll be people watching this programme, as there were those millions of people who went out to vote Leave, who feel really strongly, who feel passionately about this issue, about leaving the European Union. And you know, many people who voted from the heart to leave the European Union. My job as Prime Minister is to deliver for them, but also I've got to be hard-headed and practical about this and do it in a way that ensures we get the best interests for the UK.
To our political correspondent now, Tom Rayner. So tough talk from the Prime Minister, Tom, but will it have any effect?
Well, she's hoping so, isn't she? Because that Chequers agreement, which formed the basis of the Brexit white paper, the position that the government set out last week, has been very hard won. It's taken her 2 years to get that agreed, even though it's cost those cabinet resignations of David Davis and Boris Johnson. The Prime Minister making very clear today that despite the pressure she's coming under to make changes, really angry demands being made from Brexiteers, that she is planning to stand firm. And she's effectively been making the argument of realism, saying that hers is the only option. And as a result, she saw it served her purpose to reveal what it was that Donald Trump had suggested to her with regards to advice for Brexit. If you remember, during their press conference last Friday, he suggested that he had given the Prime Minister some advice and that perhaps she hadn't taken it because it was a bit too brutal. Well, she was asked what that advice was. This is what she had to say.
He told me I should sue the EU.
Sue the EU?
Sue the EU. Not go into negotiations, sue them. Actually, no. We're going into negotiations with them. But interestingly, what the President also said at that press conference was don't walk away.
Yeah.
Don't walk away from the negotiations because then you're stuck.
Trying to turn what was quite an awkward moment, perhaps, in that press conference to her advantage as she seeks to ram home the point that although this is a compromise, although it does have areas which she acknowledges raise concerns for Brexiteers, that it is the only realistic option. She also, in that interview, denied that David Davis, the former Brexit Secretary, had been kept in the dark with regards to plans for establishing this common rule book, which is one of the most contentious issues in the whole white paper, which would establish the EU and the UK maintaining alignment on rules for goods. She says that David Davis wasn't kept in the dark, that this was an idea that was just in a gestation period over quite a long period. But writing in the Financial Times today, David Davis somewhat contradicts that point. He says, not controlling our regulation is far from an arcane technicality. It would mean that the UK is simply not running its own economy. How laws are made is also a central indicator of whether we have a functioning democracy. If Parliament determines laws, we have one. Otherwise, we do not. Now, the first test of whether or not Theresa May has won the argument, if you like, as a result of her interview today will come tomorrow as the trade bill, a key part of the government's Brexit legislation programme, comes back to the House of Commons. There are rebel amendments tabled from both sides of the Conservative Party. The Prime Minister has hit out at both those sides, saying to Europhiles that their efforts to try and keep the UK within a customs union would risk betraying Brexit. And to the Brexiteers, she says that their plans could wreck the bill and lead to a disorderly Brexit, and that would damage the country.